I think, and even myself, that there's a way in which Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi would, coalesce around Raila Odinga as they did in 2017. And, that is more so because of the surety in terms of the numbers that the team would galvanize. Remember that going to 2022, the person that they are contesting against is a grassroots man. You are talking of someone who is also relatively young and has energy and also has the resources which he is ready to spend. In fact, you can rest assured that after the Azimio La Umoja team, that is the function of today, probably tomorrow, 2 days thereafter, he'll have massive rallies around Githurai, around that area, just so as to restore the support that. So that is a person that you are dealing with. So you can never take chances when you're dealing with that sort of a person. You can never act on assumptions when dealing with that sort of a person. You cannot just proceed on the basis that, we have, I don't know, the deep state and whatever. Every vote counts. Yeah, you cannot just assume that, like I said, that, remember I started by saying that Raila Odinga cannot be a project because he's always had the numbers. In the last election, he had around half of the country. But that half of the country was because of the support of the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka, the likes of Mudavadi. Yeah, so that I think that is something that the ODM leader and his team will then really need to work on. I think what is fundamentally important is that if you look at it in terms of ideology, in as much as there may have been reasons that occasioned the split as it is now, and legitimate, of course they are legitimate because people make mistakes, and ODM may have made certain mistakes. For example, when it came to the sharing of the political parties, funds, how the process was handled, so that the other fellas felt, they were not operating in good faith. I think that is something that really needs to be addressed. But what is more important that I was saying is that if you look at the basis of these NASA principles, if you look at Mudavadi's base, as well as Kalonzo Musyoka's base, and you ask the base, forget about the principles, whom would you go for? Would you go for the deputy president, or would you go for the former prime minister? I'm sure their bases would very easily gravitate around the former prime minister.
All right.
Yes.
Professor Wajakoya, the former vice president and the ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi said he's engaged in his personal business. So we'll make it. So is Moses Wetangula. Kalonzo Musyoka, I think, is in Juba. He's monitoring, of course, the implementation of a peace process. Is it significant that these three, who have been part and parcel of a NASA coalition, the defunct NASA coalition, is it significant that they will not be in Kasarani?
Really, Raila doesn't need them. I also don't need them. They have been there for a very long time. And you can also see from their mode of operation. When Mudavadi was campaigning, he only goes for the roadside shows or going to sign a book in a governor's office in Nyeri or Nyandarua or Laikipia. That is not campaigning. And that's why they are giving Ruto a leverage to campaign. Real campaign needs real men campaigning to real people. So when it comes to them now wearing suits and driving around and going to State House to take a picture with the president, will that translate into votes? Raila does not need them.
Raila doesn't need them. But we could also see betrayal in the city today, Wakili Ken Amonde, because these three principles deliberately, because they appear to say they have personal business, but it appears like a deliberate skip of the Azimio La Umoja convention. But we have seen time and time again the Baringo Senate appearing to pull towards Raila Odinga. If he shows up today in Kasarani, wouldn't that be the beginning of the end of the One Kenya Alliance?
Yeah, you see, one thing I know about the One Kenya Alliance is that in the end of the day, they will gravitate around one of the major presidential aspirants. And this will come especially because of the pressure that they will get from the ground. Yeah, the way this country ordinarily, operates, notwithstanding the fact that we have a constitution that asks dispersal of power and the county's devolution, but there's a sense in which people still believe that, you know, central government is everything. That is the notion down there. So that heading towards 2022, January, February, thereabouts, I expect a lot of pressure to come from, you know, the base of these particular politicians and insisting that they have to be in either of the, you know, the main divides that will be most likely to, you know, win the presidential race. But of course, I expect Gideon to be at the function today, and of course for good reason, given the history with his friend, you know, the president, those family affiliations. Gideon, I expect to be at the function.
All right. And we'll see whether Gideon Moi will make it to Kasarani today. And we'll continue with that analysis, particularly in the One Kenya Alliance and what it portends for them, the meeting today. But for now, I want us to head straight to Mombasa. Like I told you, we're live from several locations. We're live in Kisumu, we're live in Mombasa, we're live in Kasarani, both in and out, and we're live in studio now. Thomas Madiga joins us from Mombasa. Thomas, if you could kindly update us, Mombasa, ahead of this declaration.
Well, good morning to you, Jacob Kioria at Broadcasting House in Nairobi. We are live from Mombasa County. I'm just in the streets of Mombasa. Just behind me, the usual logo which tells that we're in Mombasa, the Elephant Tusk. And as it is today, is the D-Day for the ODM party, as the presidential hopeful Raila Amolo Odinga will be launching his presidential bid during the Azimio La Umoja convention in Kasarani. And in Mombasa, it is all systems go. And about yesterday, we had been talking to grassroots leaders here in Mombasa, and they say they are all prepared to join Raila Amolo Odinga in the Azimio La Umoja convention in Nairobi. And as yesterday, several buses had left Mombasa to Nairobi, and we had leaders even from the grassroots level, those aspiring for the MCA seats, of course, taking several youths and people to Nairobi, sponsoring them to Nairobi, so that they'll be joining the convention, of which 60,000 people are expected to be attending the Azimio La Umoja convention. Of course, to ODM people, it is a big day to them, of course, as they expect Raila Odinga to launch his presidential bid for the next year general elections in Nairobi. And of course, here in Mombasa, what they're saying is they're expecting they're expecting good things, of course, from the Azimio La Umoja convention, of which they want their interests to be taken to be taken into account. Of course, employment to the youth, and of course ensuring that there is economical empowerment. And as Raila himself says that there will be, of course, there will be no progress in terms of economy and in terms of making sure that the country gets development, just because if there is no political stability, or there will be no, or they will not realize economic development if there is chaos amidst all things as they are moving forward to ensure that all goes well for the country. But here in Mombasa, they're expecting much good things to be okay. And of course, in Swahili, they'll say kwamba Mombasa tunatarajia kwamba mambo yawe mazuri zaidi, and they say that tunatarajia kwamba Raila Amolo Odinga wakati ama katika convention hii kule jijini Nairobi kuweza kuangazia yale ambayo anapanga wakati atakapotangaza azimio lake la kuwa rais katika uchaguzi mkuu ujao. Na kama nilivyokuelezea hapo awali katika lugha ya King'enge ni kwamba jana kulikuwa na baadhi ya wale viongozi kutoka mashinani ambao pia vile waliweza kudhamini baadhi ya wale wanaopania sana, ama wale wanaopendelea sana kujiunga na chama cha ODM, ama vile vile wanaunga mkono chama cha ODM na kuweza kuungana na kuweza kuelekea kule jijini Nairobi, wakielezea bayana kwamba wana matumaini makubwa wakati Raila Amolo Odinga atapokuwa akielezea azimio lake la kutaka kuwa rais. Yapo mambo mengi ambayo wameweza kuangazia ya kwamba wangependa yaweze kutiliwa maanani. Baadhi ya masuala hayo ni kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba vijana wanaweza kupata kazi, na pia vile vile hali ya kiuchumi kuweza kuimarika, na pia vile vile kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba kunakuwa na maendeleo na uwiano katika taifa kama ilivyo katika ile Azimio la Umoja. Na pia vile vile kuna swala ambalo linaibuka kwa sasa kutoka katika eneo zima hili la Pwani. Kipo chama kinajulikana kama Pan African Alliance PA ambacho kinaongozwa na gavana wa Kilifi Amason Jeffa Kingi kupitia ofisi ya katibu wake iliweza kueleza bayana kwamba watakuwa wanajiunga katika ili azimio kule katika eneo la Kasarani, akiweza kuelezea bayana kwamba manifesto yao wanaamini kwamba itaweza kupanuka ama kuweza kueleweka zaidi iwapo itakuwa itakuwa katika ule mustakabali wa kuweza kuonyesha kwamba inaleta watu pamoja na pia vile vile katika mazingara ambayo yanaleta umoja wa taifa. Na naamini kwamba mazingara hayo ya kuleta umoja wa taifa yanapatikana katika ile Azimio la Umoja ambalo linasema kwamba kuungana kwa Wakenya wote kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba kuna kuwa na usawa na pia vile vile kuweza kuwa na ukuaji wa kiuchumi, vijana kuweza kupata kazi, kina mama kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba shughuli zao za kiuchumi zinakuwa bora zaidi, na pia vile vile masuala ya usalama na pia vile vile kukua na kuweza kukomaa kisiasa kwa taifa. Raila aliweza kuelezea bayana kwamba iwapo tunataka kuona maendeleo ya kitaifa ni kwamba maendeleo ya kitaifa yanapatikana pale kunapokuwa na usalama wa kutosha na pia vile vile uwiano, kwamba hakuwezi kuwa na maendeleo ya kiuchumi iwapo kutakuwa kuna matatizo ama Wakenya wanafarakana. Akaweza kusema kwamba yote haya yataweza kubainika ama kufanyika vyema na kuweza kufikia ule upeo wanaotarajia iwapo kutakuwa na ule uwiano na umoja kwa Wakenya wote. Ni hayo tu tulionayo kwa sasa katika kaunti hii ya Mombasa, lakini tutakuwa tunarudi kwako kuweza kukuelezea zaidi mengi wakati tukizungumza na wananchi uweze kutupatia tu matarajio yao kuhusiana na Azimio la Umoja kule jijini. Sasa katika kaunti hii ya Mombasa, lakini tutakuwa tunarudi kwako kuweza kukuelezea zaidi mengi wakati tukizungumza na wananchi uweze kutupatia tu matarajio yao kuhusiana na Azimio la Umoja kule jijini.
Yale ambayo Raila Odinga atakuwa anasema pale Kasarani, and he has already left his home headed towards Kasarani, and that means Simon Achola who's on standby in Kisumu. But before then, Professor Wajakoya, if Gideon Moi today shows up at the Kasarani Stadium in support of Raila Odinga and the Azimio La Umoja, doesn't that mean then the One Kenya Alliance has disentangled?
One Kenya Alliance died long time ago.
It did?
Yes.
When?
Long time, I don't want even to talk about it.
Long time. That's very interesting. It died long time ago.
Yes.
How did it die? Why did it die?
How do you put 5 men into a cage? One of them to be.
All right.
Either Gideon joins Raila or joins me. Because now I'm more popular in lands with people like us. Let's leave it for those who know what we are doing in the field.
All right. So what options exist then for, if it is disentangled or it died a long time ago? Because each one of them has ambitions. At least for Musalia Mudavadi, we know he has serious ambitions. So is Kalonzo Musyoka. Moses Wetangula has been on and off about his presidential ambitions. But the two gentlemen, that is Musalia Mudavadi and Kalonzo Musyoka, have been serious that they want to vie for presidency. What happens to them? Do they run on the individual parties then?
Well, Musalia is my friend, and we come a long way. But if he runs, and we come from the same backyard, he'll be denting himself because he has run before and he has not shown up, whatever. Secondly, if Musalia joins Raila as running mate, Ruto will win tomorrow, or I will win day after tomorrow, because Mount Kenya will not want to be left out. So if you put mathematics together, definitely it will be to the advantage of me or Raila or Ruto if none of them ran within our circle, me, Ruto, and Raila. Because Ruto is already positioning himself in Mount Kenya. And obviously, our brothers and sisters in Mount Kenya will not want to be left out of the knee. But for a person like me, I'm not even going that direction. I will surprise this country by having somebody who has never even been in existence as my running mate.
Your running mate. All right, O'Brien Kimani joins us on set right about now to give us a little bit of a profile of the former Prime Minister. And O'Brien, you will agree with me, it's quite a rich profile, the profile of the former Premier.
Well, absolutely. I think it's fair to say that, you know, of all the current political leaders, who has a richer political history than Raila Odinga. And today is such a crucial day because it is going to determine what direction his political career will take. It is proper to understand that speculation, but what we know for sure is his past. And that's what I'm about to give you now. Remember, this is a special coverage of Azimio La Umoja convention, which is taking place at the KASARANI.
Sawa, nimeona. Study. Sawa, weka bisi.
convenience and the remote control. अभी क्लोज अभी ऐसी भी थे
na masikio yaweke chini. Because everything after today kuanza sherehe.
action speaks louder than words.
All right.
Yeah, and like Prof has said, all the indications are there about the direction that the president intends the country and most of his succession to take. So that I believe he really does not have to be there. Yeah, all that matters most is the actions.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm asking, so, Professor, because there was a scheduled National Delegates Conference for the Jubilee Party. The president postponed it, obviously in favor of the State of the Nation address that he had in the last week. And as you think about it, the much touted marriage between Jubilee and ODM has been spoken about for the last 2 years, but almost at the point of signing the marriage document, something stalls.
The Jubilee Party died long time ago. Most of the big wigs in Jubilee are now in UDA. And Raila will be wasting his time in coalescing himself with an empty shell. He would just say, welcome, those who want to come in, you can come in.
Are you suggesting that the president is a party leader of a shell party?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yes, he is.
He is the leading a shell party.
A shell party.
So Raila Odinga would be wasting time.
Wasting his time. If I was Raila, and I know Raila is very wise, let people not underestimate that man. And he's, with wisdom, of course, he'll just say, we do this, but in his head, he knows, what is this? Yes.
Wakili Amondi, what stalls when it comes to, because I'm sure you have friends inside the party, ODM. What exactly happens whenever this marriage is almost happening? It appears like the priest never shows up or something happens. The certificate is not available for signing.
No, but I think that in respect of the Jubilee Party, it would be so much in terms of the fact that we know that there has been a substantial shift from Jubilee to UDA.
Yes.
And then, of course, secondly, as it stands now, and given the fact that the president's term is ending, and given our history as a nation, there's a sense in which we have really not developed, strengthened, and inculcated the aspect of developing strong and sustainable political parties. Yeah, so that other than the ODM, I don't think there's any other that would so-called political party that would qualify as a political party as they ought to be. So that then there would be no so much fuss unto what Jubilee is doing, when will the marriage be formalized, because I think even for the persons that matter and who are looking at things in terms of what I said, the future and sustenance of the legacy of the president himself knows that what Raila Odinga may need is just goodwill, and not really that he comes to him with a political party. Though still remember, as a country, we cobble parties 2-3 months to general elections and they win. That is our history. Yeah, so there may be some other party may come even in January. Yeah, and just become now the thing.
Actually, let's talk a little bit about that, Wakili and Professor Wajakoya, because just about last week, there's a bill that has been published. I think the Majority Leader, Amos Kimunya, is yet to table it in Parliament. But it seeks an amendment to the Political Parties Act, and in a sense introduce a coalition of parties to change, a single identity political party, to make it a coalition of political parties, to recognize a coalition of political parties. And one wonders, is it likely that probably the Azimio La Umoja is going to become a coalition of political parties, which could also woo the Roots party that he belonged to?
Well, my party is not joining anybody. Okay. I'm going right throughout to the ballot, and then maybe after the ballot, then the NEC will sit down and try to say what to give a sense of direction. But the issue of coalition is already in the Elections Act, right? And also within the Register of Political Parties Act. So it's not like they're going to. When I formed my party, when I formed a coalition previously with the DIDA, we formed the TRUNSA, and we deposited our certificate of coalition with the registrar of political parties. Well, things went south because of things that I'm not going to mention right now. But if Azimio comes in to swallow those parties, the party leadership, because I've been in the party systems, because my party sits on the political parties liaison committee, so I've been very much aware of what goes on. Yeah, there are some political parties with political leadership that are ready to attract people like people like the former prime minister. They want to go on his handicoat, but people like us who have stood firm, we have said no, we shall go all the way to the debe, and then after that let Kenyans decide, because we are not representing the whole image of Kenya. We are representing the image of undecided voters who do not want to go that direction again.
That particular piece of legislation that is yet to be tabled in Parliament actually wants to recognize a coalition party instead of what we say a political party, a coalition party. And we've seen the formation of, new parties. Upia. There are others still being formed, even in Mount Kenya region. PNU also appears to be, gravitating towards Raila Odinga. Are we going to see Azimio force into, a big national movement?
Yeah, that could be a possibility, and I think that there has been some sort of lacuna in the law. And this could even be part of the explanation into the split that occurred in the initial NASA coalition. I remember I mentioned the question of the sharing of the political parties' funds, which of course personally I felt was not handled properly so by ODM, because ordinarily, such agreements are crafted in good faith. But I would really want to see a scenario where it's clearly captured in the law how funds that are attributed to, political parties or coalitions are shared, and based on what. Because you will realize, like in the last election, NASA, for example, there may have been the ODM party, I want to believe, may have had quite a number of members of parliament from within Nairobi. But of course, there is a sense in which each of the coalition partners or the presidential aspirants, bearing in mind the regional nature of our country, played in ensuring that this particular party actually wins these particular slots. So that subsequent to the election, the question would be, how would that fund be shared? Because again, you realize that